Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music. Have you ever been sitting next to someone that's eating cereal and with every bite they take, you just want to go crazy, leave the room, punch them? Have you ever listened to a podcast and every time the presenter articulates a certain word, you get a mouth click, a sound that's like someone licking the inside of your brain? I know that's gross, but someone described it to me one time and that's all I heard and thought of ever since. Apparently, there is a term for this. It's called misophonia or misophonia, and it means or translates roughly to hatred of sound. For some people, this is a real thing. For me, the mouth clicks, that's true. If I hear them, I'm annoyed, but for people who really have this, I mean, they'll turn the podcast off or skip or go to 1.5 or 2 speed or whatever to fast forward through them. It's a real thing, and it doesn't affect a lot of people. Some people just have it. Others, once they're told, hey, listen to this mouth click, they'll never be able to not hear that again. Where am I going with all this? I was playing around with RX8 that came out a couple weeks ago by iZotope. And my girlfriend came over and she was looking at me kind of playing with the application. And she said, can it get rid of breath noises? And she, by the way, has some misophonia. And I'm like, well, it can if you have like the isolated vocal. So if you have a spoken piece of audio, just that, no background noise or whatever, you can use a tool called breath control to remove them. Sung, same thing. If you have the stems, you can do the same thing. It kind of looks ahead and then attenuates them. However, if you're dealing with a fully mixed song, it's a little bit different, right? Because the vocals are embedded in a bunch of other arrangement elements like drums and guitars and keys and all the rest of it. So she goes, there's a song by Ray LaMontagne, and by the way, I will be saying LaMontagne, can't help it, called Be Here Now. She said it's so breathy, and I love the song, but it's really hard for me to kind of get through it and listen to it. Now, fortunately, there's a tool in RX. It was in 7, now it's in 8, improved, called Music Rebalance. And what this lets you do is rebalance, right? Bring up or down percussion, bass, vocals, or anything that's not those three, or with some tracks, you can get some really clean isolation and separation. So I thought it might be a fun challenge to remove what was really annoying her, which is the breathiness of Ray's vocal, especially in the verses. I guess they're using a large diaphragm microphone and he's just kind of like breathing in really heavy to get to his next line. Now, I'm not saying we need to do this to our tracks. We need to de-breath them. Breathing is part of the physicality of a performance, but I thought it might be a fun exercise to see if we could remove successfully or attenuate, control, if you will, the breath noises in this song. Now, the song, again, it's called Be Here Now, and it sounds like this.
Don't let your mind get weary and confused. You will be still, don't.
So you can hear there in that like 5 or 6 seconds or so, a lot of intakes of air, right? And they're pretty sharp. For me, that wouldn't annoy me, but I thought what a fun challenge to see if we could extract the vocal, right? Because we got to do that. Music Rebalance, let's extract the vocal, bring the vocal over, use some tools to kind of control and attenuate the breaths. And then let's see if we can reintroduce the vocal into the mix. And I'll show you how I kind of do that here and see if we get a breath controlled stereo track using some of the tools here. So again, this is not like, I'm not saying everyone go do this. This is an edge case, an experiment to see how powerful this program is. And I did this a little while ago, a couple days ago, and I was like, this would make a really cool video. So obviously nothing to do with composing or mixing. I get it. You can skip this, but let's just have some fun. So first off, I'm in the RX8 application window here. I'm using the standalone version. It's just so much more powerful than using a plugin or whatever. You get access to more modules. There's the waveform display. We all know this one. And then there's spectrogram view, which represents sound left to right, time, bottom to top, frequency, and brightness is loudness. Louder things are going to be brighter in the spectrogram. And of course, we can have both views here if we toggle, but I just prefer working in the spectrogram view. So I can see, I've worked with RX a lot. I know where the vocals are. I know what they look like. And here they are. Here's a cluster. Whoops. Using instant process here. Here's a cluster. Here's a cluster. Here's another cluster, and then we have the chorus here, which is, pretty dense and breathy. Actually, not too breathy. So how do we first we have to take the vocals out of this mix in order to get them isolated, because if I was to go in and just try and remove the breaths from these little islands of vocals here. So you can see that we have, so these are the breaths, by the way. Here's a breath. Sorry, here's one right there. There's one here. One here. So if I was to, let's say I used a tool, I used the gain tool here. I used it in Instant Process. And I'm screwing up big time here. All right. So if I was to just, blanket, make a selection, I have Instant Process on, so it's going to go down and turn the gain down just on that patch. It would sound pretty unnatural because I've turned down everything, not just the breath, but there's some guitar strumming there. There's a pad probably underneath. There's some atmospheric stuff. Don't let your mind get weak. There's another one here. So don't let your mind get weak. So now we're getting a kind of gating effect, which is interesting, but that is not at all what we want to do. So in order to work on these breaths and to really control them, I need to take them out of this stereo mix. So to do that, I'm going to use Music Rebalance over here. Vocals, remember I said vocals, bass, percussion, and other. We have 3 different qualities we can choose from. They all sound really good. Better and best are going to take longer to render. But I'm going to use best here just because we're trying to, peel away the vocal as cleanly as possible. Separation strength, if I bring it all the way to the left, we're going to get really crisp separation, but maybe some artifacts. If I bring separation all the way to the right, probably not the best separation, but very few artifacts. We're going to get some bleed in there. So I leave it at 38. That's the default. There's a bunch of presets up here, obviously. So, it's a bit of a cooking show. I've already actually extracted things, but if you wanted to just extract the vocal, just hit solo here, or you can turn them all down individually. Hit solo, and then you go render, and it's going to create another tab in RX once it kind of, extracts the vocals, a bit like on your web browser. So you can go just to the vocal tab and then do your work there. So I've already done that. As you can see, we have this only vocals here. Let me just cancel this. So this is the result of my processing with Music Rebalance. It does take a while on a big stereo file like this. So here are just the vocals. Don't let your soul get lonely, child, it's only time it will go by. So that's pretty clean. We are still hearing, however, some guitar in there. We're hearing some kind of other elements. So I know that I need to be careful with my controlling of this, this vocal, getting the breaths out, because if I do, if I'm too aggressive or too kind of lazy or not careful enough, I might get rid of some strumming and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to remove breaths from an isolated vocal like this. So you might think to use breath control here, which is the tool that I mentioned at the top of this video. It just goes through, automatically attenuates them. It might be too blunt an instrument because, again, we still have bleed coming from other instruments in this isolated vocal. So I want to be a bit more careful and thoughtful and purposeful with the tools. Breath control is awesome on a super isolated vocal, but here I'm worried it kind of might knock out some of those guitar chords, and I have a better way, I think, of working around them, and that's to use a combination of gain and attenuate in the spectral repair module. And gain is just gain, that's all it is. It just takes things up or down based on the values that you determine. So let's listen here. I'm at 150, so this is like the second or third verse here. Don't let your soul get lonely, child, it's only. So to make your work a little easier, you can use some markers to let yourself know where the breaths are. I can see them because I stare at this program every day. Don't let There's one there. Your soul get. There's one there. I'm hitting M. M will give me a marker drop. Lonely. There's one there. Child is only. Let me just back this up a little bit. There's my next one.
Time it
There's one there.
will go.
Cool. So there's breath throughout this entire thing, obviously, but let's just kind of stay on this one little island. So what I might do to get rid of this first one, or just control it, is use the gain tool here. So gain is over here, and I have it down at minus 15 dB. This means any selection that I make, a bit like, a photo editor, right? That's where it's going to go down 15 dB in gain. And I've deleted it. Just, Command X will delete it. And that's not what I want to do either. Let me just zoom in again. Here we go. Okay, cool. And I erased all my markers, but that's fine, because now you know how to do markers. So I am just going to use the time and frequency selection tool, hit R, okay? And because I have instant process on in the bottom, it's just going to automatically talk to the gain module and take it down when I let go of my selection, without me having to go gain, select, render, select, render. It's just automatically going to take that kind of cloud away, which is that first breath. So after.
Don't let,
So that lead-in breath is taken down.
don't let your soul get.
So next up here is this next one.
Don't let,
Right there. Every time I do that. All right, I'm just trying to make this quick so you guys aren't hanging out too long in this video, and I am screwing up. There we go. Let's go back.
let your
So
let,
I'm going to get a good kind of position here.
don't let your
And there's a couple different ways we can deal with this, right? So I could do what I did before. I could use this tool to go in and take this down by 15 dB.
don't let your
That's a little kind of heavy-handed. We can hear it kind of ducking.
don't let your
Probably going to do the job once it's embedded in the vocal, in the rest of the arrangement, but it might be a little bit too much. So one thing I could do instead of using gain, as I did earlier with that lead-in breath, is to use attenuate in spectral repair. So this is a really amazing tool. This is basically going to, it's like an intelligent copy and paste. It's going to look at what's around the selection that I've made and paste in, what it thinks is good audio into and over the spoiled audio. It looks for magnitudes and just kind of copies and pastes them in without any kind of noticeable artifacts. It's really good for removing very kind of like discrete sounds, like a dog barking or something like that. This is a bit different, which is just a breath, but it does a really good job on it too. I'm going to go to attenuate in instant process. Again, this just lets me make a selection, leave my trackpad, and it will do the processing for me.
don't let your
That's a little bit better than before.
don't let your
I can still hear an intake, and I'm probably gonna do some more work here. And if you want to know where things are and what things sound like based on your selections, you can use this frequency selection tool. So now I'm just going to hear what's inside of my selection. So I'll press this, and if I were to, make a square here, I'd use this. So that's really where we get more of our breath right there. So I'm going to go back to the regular play button here, and I'm going to use a selection, frequency and time selection tool, and just bring this down a little bit.
don't let your
Much better. Let's do a bit more work here.
don't let your
Way better. So we're probably not going to hear that too much in the actual mix. If I wanted to, I could go into spectral repair and just like bump up the strength a little bit to maybe 1.6, and yeah, just knock that out a little bit more.
don't let your
So much better.
don't let your let your
So now I'm not really hearing too much of the sound of a breath. I'm just going to zoom in here to see if I'm getting any. I think there might be a little bit more in between some of these harmonics, which is really just me nitpicking at this point.
don't let your soul
And if I wanted to, I could come up here and just remove a little bit more of that. You don't want to go too hard.
don't let your soul
Yeah, I think that was probably what was causing a little bit more of the breath sound to come through.
Don't let your soul,
Much better. All right, so the next breath over here
your soul get
is a bit more complex, actually, if you listen closely, because we don't just have the upper stuff. There's actually something in around like 300 or 400 that is like the that thing, and I'm going to show you how to listen for it and get rid of it too. These harmonics at the bottom, that's his voice, right?
soul get
But there's something right here, this little circle, and if I zoom up here,
soul get
it's this thing right here. Let me use this frequency selection tool.
soul get
So it's a little kind of like thing there, and I'm going to use instant process again and just make a selection. And let's see if that
get no
helped at all.
get no get no
I'm not getting too much of a reduction there, so what I might do is actually go to gain and use that instead. That's better.
soul get no get
So again, let's use some of the tools here to make sure that we are in the right territory to get rid of this breath and not go too hard on it. I'm going to go back to attenuate. So now I'm talking to this. I'm just going to bring the surrounding strength over because I don't want to copy too much from around here.
get no
Let's just go all the way up here.
get no get no
I bring my strength up a little bit just to really knock this out.
soul get no soul get no soul get no
That's much better.
soul get no
Let's go to the next one. So now we have this.
don't let your soul get no
It's still a little kind of, let's see if maybe this guy's the culprit. I'm still getting some sharpness.
soul get no get
Again, if you're making moves and you're like, why am I not hearing a big result here? Use the playback frequency selection
no
and then just turn instant process off. So it's more down here, isn't it?
no soul get no
So let's see if we can do some work. And this, by the way, is just option and then scroll up and you can go kind of in between the notes. I might have to pull out a different tool here, the gain tool.
soul get no your soul get no
That's better.
soul get no
Way better. That's what I needed.
your soul get lonely
Okay, so that was some troubleshooting live here for you guys. Let's keep moving. I'm going to return things to normal here.
get lonely child
There's another one. I think spectral repair and attenuate will knock this out pretty well.
lonely lonely child lonely child
Sometimes you might just need to go over a couple times, like a few coats of paint, right?
lonely child
That's better.
lonely child lonely child
Way better. Keep moving.
is only time only time
So I'm wondering if that's another one of those bumps here. Let me use the gain tool. There, knock that out.
it's only time.
That's a bit too heavy-handed, so we need to be a bit careful.
It's only time. It's only time.
I think the problem is that I went to spectral repair. Yeah, and let's bring it back down to 1 and do some kind of more careful adjustments here. Isn't it fun to just sit here and watch me work?
Only time. Only. Only time. Only time. Only time. It's only time. Only it's only time.
It's better. A little ducky, so I got to be careful about that, but
It's only time. It's only time. Only time. Only time. Only time it will.
okay, we're nearing the finish line here.
Child, it's only get lonely. Child, it's only time it.
I'm still not loving this one here, but it's not bad.
It's only time it.
I think, oh, is it this guy here? Maybe it's this guy. That's adding that kind of like sound.
It's only time.
Yeah, that's what it was. Hear the difference?
It's only
So it's like sound.
child. It's only time.
So there we go.
Time it will.
So here's another one, the last one, really.
Time it will.
So that one there. Let's use first attenuate. No one is watching this video anymore.
Time it will.
That's a bit better.
Time it will.
One of the challenges around using spectral repair and attenuate is that it's really going to look for noise as opposed to tonal stuff. Tonal is like harmonics, right? It's me talking. Noise is like air conditioner, fan, hum. So you might have it over something that's a harmonic and it's going to say that to me sounds okay. That's tonal. I'm not really going to do much to control that. I'll control the stuff around it. So that's when you want to pull out the gain tool and just be like, no, I'm knocking out everything here, whether you think it's good or not.
Time it will. It will. Time it.
Again, I need to make sure that I'm doing the right things here. So I'm going to go. That's probably it there.
Time it will.
Much better.
Time it will.
Let's see if I can get rid of some of these guys up here.
Time it will. Time it will.
This is what dialogue editors do all day, by the way, in case anyone wants to be one. This is going to be your life.
Time it will. Time it will. Time it will.
You get indoor kid skin. It's not good. Let's keep going here. So now, again, I can go between the notes here, which is really nice. The harmonics, I mean.
Time it will.
So I think that's pretty carefully attenuated. I could go a little bit more.
Time it will.
I'm still getting like a, let's see if I could use maybe, I think it's happening here in this region. I want to be careful. I'm going to use the brush tool, which is a little bit more kind of surgical. Let's see if that did anything.
Time it will.
Nah, that's too much, see? It's all about just experimenting.
Time it will.
Yeah, it's too much. Let me see if I can bump up the strength of attenuate and just give this guy a bit of a send off here. Bye-bye. Get out of here.
Time it will go.
Perfect. Okay. So, I mean, we've only done one patch of audio starting at 150. So now what is our job? Our job is to bring this back into the vocal. So how do we do that carefully? Because this track, you know, we separated the vocals from it, but it's still got the vocals in there, right?
Let your heart get heavy.
So there's a couple things you could do. You could copy and paste all your newly debreathed vocals. I'm going to turn off instant process. Just Command A, right? Select everything, copy it. And you could add it over this, right? Using this really intelligent paste feature, which is invert and mix. However, what that's going to do is probably not give you a great result because you're dealing with a vocal that isn't totally perfectly clean. It's got some resonance, some remnants of other tracks on there, right? It's got guitar, it's got other things too. So you need to actually do it a bit differently because if you do this, you're probably going to get some wobbliness, some artifacts. It's not going to sound great. You need a clean signal to kind of flip that polarity and remove it elegantly. So we're actually going to use Music Rebalance one more time to remove the vocals. Remember before we got rid of everything but kept the vocals. This time we're going to do the opposite. We're going to get rid of everything that has vocals in it. And then we're going to paste over our new breath control vocals over top and kind of transplant the vocals on a vocalless stereo session. This is, no one is still watching this, but anyway. So remember, we got to reintroduce the vocals. So we are going to go to Music Rebalance. And before only the vocals were in, this time I'm going to bring them down, okay? Because we don't need them. I want to remove them and then transplant our breath control vocals out. Now, I have not already done this before, so I don't have a cooking show kind of thing ready to go. So what I have to do is render, and this is going to take a little while for it to, on the best quality, remove the vocals. So we are going to see you on the other side of that process, and then we'll add the vocals in and we'll do some before and afters. We've now taken the vocal out of the busy mix here from Ray LaMontagne. And what I want to do is just show you what it sounds like to have the vocal out. So here it is in.
Don't let your soul get lonely, child, it's only time it will go.
Right? So here it is out. So not bad, right? I mean, it's not a perfect clean separation, but definitely it gives us what we need to reinsert this vocal cleanly, I think, into this file without the breaths. And just this section here, let me just play just the vocal right here. So here's the vocal that we removed.
Don't let your soul get lonely, child, it's only time it will go.
So that was the vocal with the breaths taken out. Now, to put one onto the other, here's what I do. I'm going to hit Command A, okay, and that selects the entire file. And then I'll hit Command C, so I'm copying it to the clipboard. And now I can go over here and do the same thing. Command A, 2 fingers, I'll go into Paste Special, and I want to go into Mix. This is going to combine both. And so we can see the vocals getting re-added here. And these are the breath-controlled vocals. So what I want to do is a before and after. And I'm probably going to have to do some fancy editing to get you a proper before and after. Let me bring in the version of B here now with the breaths. Here's before.
Don't let your soul get lonely.
And here is after.
Don't let your soul get lonely, child.
To me, that's like a really awesome, very transparent, natural difference that I don't think many people expect to use a product like RX for, but you can do it. Again, extreme edge case, But I thought it would be a cool exercise to show you some spectral repair moves and a siren in the background on Gardner. And just to show you how this product works and how you can do some fun, weird stuff and kind of solve the unsolvable and fix the impossible and all that stuff. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you want to see more videos on RX or what it can do or whatever, let me know. Obviously, I spend a lot of time with this tool, and I'd be happy to show you anything else you want to see in this product. So thanks a lot. Take care.